Welcome back to part 2 of the Lotus on Track Elise Trophy. Coming up is the handicap race, but in the meantime, I've been catching up with Russell Treasure, who has actually only finished one race this year. But you're really quick when you get going. What's happening?
Yes, the car is very quick and we're really happy with it, apart from we keep getting problems with the drivetrain. We thought we'd solved it for this weekend, but obviously not, as you can see by the activity that's going on behind us.
And is this something that is the ongoing problem, is the same problem with the car?
It is, yeah. Initially we were having other problems, but we've solved them. In effect, it's a new setup for this year, so we're still learning it as we go along. But the main problem we've got is that we've got a lot more power than we had last year, and the drivetrain can't cope with it.
Well, with the cars now heading out for the handicap race, let's hope that Russell Treasure has loads more luck. In the meantime, it's over to David Addison.
Thanks, Gemma. So here comes the confusing part of the weekend then, the handicap race, where we have different drivers not only leaving the line at different intervals, but also one or two have got credit laps. And that is all to try and balance out the pace of the different cars. So Ian Smith will go first, and he's got a credit lap, which means in this 15-lap race he will only have to do 14. Doug Setters, Sarah Crowder, Elgin Howell, Gavin Kirby and Martin Donnelly will all go first. Tom Chataway, he will leave on the 42nd mark if you look down to 17th on the grid, but he's got a credit lap in hand as well. So he could be another one to keep an eye to as the whole handicap situation unfolds. Paul Quinn, 52nd mark, he will leave, for example, but he has a credit lap. All those in red there have a credit lap, so they do one fewer than the quicker drivers. And Andrew Walsh has to do 15 laps, and he starts 70 seconds after the first drivers. Well, the handicap race all pans out, so that in theory the cars will cross the line together at the very end. Let's see whether it pans out that way. The first drop of cars then is about to leave the line. You're looking back from Elgin Howell's car. Martin Donnelly behind him makes an absolutely storming start. Donnelly blasts away. They go down there towards Redgate Corner for the first time. Now Donnelly, remember, has got to do the full 15 laps. Many of those around him only have to do 14. And as they dive down towards Redgate, he's got his race one rival, Gavin Kirby, with him for company. That's Jamie Allison's view, number 79, as he blasts away. This is the 22nd drop now. Anthony Clark, number 22, is another of the drivers involved in this section of the race. Mark Gooday as well. Chris Pearson, 77, didn't start race 1, but he very definitely is in race 2. He could be one to watch as well. Sean Bicknell behind him in number 19. Down they go towards Redgate, and Andrew Kell is in that gaggle, and so too is 81 Neil McKean. The next drop of cars leaves the line. You see the 21 is involved in that, Martin Saras, and this man Nick Kay. David Harvey is ahead of him on the 340R as they go down towards Redgate. Russ Treasure is the next man to leave the line of note. Now remember, his drivetrain problems have been his real nemesis all season. Fingers crossed they're going to be behind him now as he goes down towards Redgate, and this could therefore be a better race for Treasure, except he slows, doesn't he, at Redgate, and dives for the grass even before the first corner. Russ Treasure's race is at an end. This has been a desperately bad season for him, and it gets no better here. The last drop of cars then on the 72nd mark. They're going to have to hurry here because as they leave the line, the leaders are going to be coming through the chicane. BJ Chong watches Andrew Walsh sprint away. Now the fastest lap of race 1 was a 1:18, and that means that as that gaggle of cars leaves the line just 8 seconds later or thereabouts, Martin Donnelly comes storming through. Now Donnelly not yet leading. There's the race leader, number 12, that's Ian Smith, as the best of those that have got a credit lap in hand. Donnelly is the best of those without a credit lap. In other words, he is the highest placed of those drivers that need to do 15 laps. He's therefore got to try and get himself back ahead of Ian Smith. He's passed him once, effectively unlapping himself, but number 12, Ian Smith, leads the race until Donnelly or everybody else from that 15-lap mark will come past him. Yeah, I know it sounds confusing. Bear with us. By the end of the race, we'll see that it all unravels. Those that have got to work their way through the field will be much more competitive there. Number 9 going through is Martin Roberts. And here a good little battle raging on coming up towards McLean's corner. Got Gavin Kirby there looking for a way past 24. That's Doug Setters. And those two run nose to tail now up towards Coppice. Somebody in the gravel though there is Steve Wenzel. And that car is going no further. It's well beach look in the gravel down at the El Hairpin. Ian Smith still leading the race, and another driver in trouble there. Big lose going up towards McLean's. That's Neil McKean. Now he's normally one of the front runners and he's very, very cross with himself. Neil McKean is out of the race. He's had 3 class wins this year in the series, but this is a retirement as there Chris Pearson storms through coming up towards the chicane. He gains a place on the road there by going ahead of Sarah Crowder. Elgin Howell is behind him, then Andrew Kell looking to try to work his way through the order. Of course, Andrew Kell, he's another driver having to do, like Chris Pearson ahead of him, the full 15 laps. Now there you can see, look, Pearson goes ahead of Ian Smith, still leading the race, number 12, Ian Smith. So in real terms, they've just unlapped themselves. from the best of those drivers who has a credit lap in hand. There's a yellow flag being shown at the top of the Craner curves. That, I think, is for Steve Wenzel's car that's in the gravel going down through the Craners. Another good scrap there is Tess Howell going through Coppes, just being able to fend off the opposition, although she runs a little bit wide, and that is now possibly going to lose Tess a place on the run down towards the chicane. You can see now as the handicap starts to work itself through gaggles of cars running together down towards the chicane. Tess Howell turns her way right and then left, James Knight tucked up behind, and then number 2 Martin Donnelly still trying to unlap himself to this gaggle of cars. Martin Roberts ahead of Doug Settles as they turn their way up through the chicane. Past the pit, Donnelly carving his way through the race order. It's a real boost for many of those new to racing this year to go toe-to-toe with a former Grand Prix driver here. Martin, who has been a staunch supporter of the Lotus on-track Elise Trophy this year. He raced for Lotus in Grand Prix, remember. He also raced for Lotus briefly in the British GT Championship at a Chamberlain-run Lotus Esprit at the end of one season. Donnelly plunges down through the Craner curves, and he's about to try to make a move on Tess Howell on the inside, going into the El Happin. Through he goes. That now puts Martin Donnelly another couple of places higher up the order. He's absolutely on the ragged edge, though, flinging the car around as here Chris Pearson versus Andrew Kell. The battle comes down towards Redgate. Company director Mark Gooday drops back behind them in the Ashdown Music into the 340R. There's Elgin Howell squeezing his way through of Ian Smith. Now that puts Howell into the lead of the race on track at the moment, and then he runs wide onto the curb and he's lost it. Howell goes right the way through. Elgin was on the marbles, I think, there. Anyway, he's gone right the way through. He's back in the right direction. There's another spinner, is Sarah Crowder, and that happens right ahead of Ian Smith as well. There's something about his very presence here that unsettles people. So Smith back into the lead. Elgin Howell second. Great battles here, but this is the midfield group working their way up towards McLean's. Gordon goes through, he's got James Knight number 99 right on his tail. There, good scrap, Doug Setters nearest out, has got Anthony Clark trying to urge his car up alongside, heading now up towards the double apex right-hander at Coppes. And this is the gaggle of cars for the lead now. Elgin Howell you're on board with, he's second, and that's Martin Donnelly right up behind him. Donnelly has had to do an extra lap, remember, to Howell, and there he is right on the tail. Howell had his spin earlier on, he's still in second place, but not for long. The race leader, Ian Smith, comes over the line. Howell is second, but Martin Donnelly, who's had to do an extra lap compared to those ahead of him, is about to go through to grab the lead. Anthony Clark goes through the chicane there, number 13, the red and white car of Matthew Barton and Jamie Allison goes through, and that's Paul Patterson, and his car is well ablaze, look. A big fire, he's going to pull it off the circuit and retire, but not for the first time this year we've seen a car catch a light in the Lotus on-track Elise Trophy. Paul Patterson's okay, he's out of the car. Now, though, he's got to hope the marshals can get there very swiftly indeed, so there's not extra damage done to the bodywork. New race leader is Martin Donnelly there. The former Lotus Grand Prix star is up front here at Donington. Now, what's going to go on for second? Because, of course, Ian Smith and Elgin Howell, not as quick as some of those Class C drivers who have had to do an extra lap, now starting to drop down the order. He's going to put, I reckon, Andrew Kell versus Chris Pearson's battle on now for second and third places. There is Andrew Kell, look, and behind him is Chris Pearson. Now, is Andrew Kell going to be able to maintain the place? I think he might well be able to. Pearson is next, then 22 is Anthony Clark, and there's a squeal of tires because Clark's lost it. Round he goes at the chicane. Sorts himself out, back in the right direction now, but that will have cost Anthony Clark a place or two potentially, as Chris Pearson there, look, makes his move up on the inside of Andrew Kell, but it doesn't work going around Redgate. Next gaggle of cars through the chicane, and you can see headlights on one or two of the quicker drivers trying to work their way through. Steve Williams in 18, 13 is Matthew Bartlett, and right alongside him in 25 there is Tess Howell. Now you can see that the handicapper has done his job because he's got half the field running together. Look over the line down towards Redgate. Nick Kay's white Elise on the inside there, tries to gain ground. And there's a big slide ahead of him as they get around Redgate. There is 67, that's Andrew Kell. Now he's on target for second place here behind Martin Donnelly. Chris Pearson is going to be third, but into the chicane for the last time. The car's a little bit smoky. Seldom has it had so much abuse in a day, I reckon. Martin Donnelly then, in Paul Golding's Elise, is going to come through to win the handicap race here at Donington in the Lotus on-track Elise Trophy. Checkered flag falls to Donnelly to win. Andrew Kell takes second and Chris Pearson is third. And Martin Donnelly victorious then. What a drive. Fourth goes the way of Andrew Walsh from the back of the grid on the 72nd mark as well. Paul Quinn fifth ahead of James Knight sixth. Then it's Doug Setters and David Harvey seventh and eighth. Ninth is Steve Williams and Nick Kay 10th. Well, it's time to use a long forgotten phrase in the English language. The winner is Martin Donnelly. And there he is getting the garland from Gemma. And Martin very pleased about that. It's been a long time since his last race win. Andrew Kell celebrates being the first non-ex Grand Prix driver home. And then the third place is Chris Pearson, also pretty happy about his day's work here after 2 great races at Donington.
Chris, blinding race and some great racing with Andrew Curl. How'd you enjoy it?
Really enjoyed it, yeah, really good. Put a couple of moves up on him and got past a couple of times, but in traffic he got back past, so not much you could do about that at the end.
Andrew, big smiles and big congratulations. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, fantastic fun. I had a really good battle all the way through with Chris Pearson. We swapped places a couple of times, and 2 laps from the end caught sight of Martin, but there weren't enough laps to catch him up.
Second to a Formula 1 driver or ex-Formula 1 driver is pretty good, hey?
I can't really complain, can I?
Martin, an absolutely blinding race. I kind of hoped you'd do it, but you did. Well done.
Well, it's incredulous, really, isn't it? I mean, it still really hasn't sunk in. I mean, I knew that we had quite a heavy handicap, but like everything else, it's a race, and you just leather it and give it as best you can. And you don't really know whereabouts, position-wise, you are when you're on track, because I don't think there's anybody gets any sort of signals. And you just push to the end, and we had a bit of an argy-bargy with one of the drivers who've already gone up and apologised to, but he's okay with it. And we came across to the checker flag, and lo and behold, you've actually won overall, so it makes it even sweeter. So as I said, a big thank you to Paul and everybody here today that supports on track, and it'd be nice to think that this year that it won't be the last one that we can attend and compete in.
So there we have perhaps the perfect finish to a great day's racing, with Martin Donnelly, our guest driver, taking first place in the handicap race. Tune in next time, where we'll be coming to you from Brands.